June 12, 2025. A day that began with hope, anticipation, and the promise of new journeys. The city of Ahmedabad awoke to the usual rhythm of life, unaware that the hours ahead would forever alter its history. By nightfall, that hope had turned to heartbreak, casting a shadow over India and leaving families and communities in mourning. That morning, families, friends, and business travelers boarded Air India Flight AI-171, their minds filled with plans, reunions, and dreams. None could have imagined that their journey would end in unimaginable disaster. In a matter of moments, tragedy struck. The crash claimed the lives of all 241 passengers and crew on board, as well as dozens more on the ground, turning the neighborhood of Meghaninagar into a scene of devastation and chaos. This was not just another headline or statistic, it became the deadliest global air disaster in a decade, sending shockwaves across the nation and the world and shaking India to its very core. The tragedy forced the country to confront the fragility of air travel and to question the trust we place in the systems meant to keep us safe. Airports fell silent, and travelers everywhere felt a new sense of vulnerability. Behind every number was a human story, families waiting for loved ones who would never return, a community left shattered, and lives changed forever in an instant. First responders rushed into danger, risking everything to save lives, offer comfort, and bring order to chaos, their courage shining through the darkness of the day. The search for answers became a national imperative. How could such a tragedy occur? What went wrong, and how can we ensure it never happens again? Investigators and officials worked tirelessly, determined to uncover the truth. Only by understanding the chain of events that led to this disaster can we hope to build a safer future for all, one where every journey begins and ends in safety, and where such heartbreak is never repeated. On the morning of June 12, 2025, Air India Flight AI-171, a state-of-the-art Boeing 787 Dreamliner, prepared for departure from Ahmedabad's Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel International Airport. The aircraft was scheduled for a routine international flight bound for London Heathrow, a journey that thousands make every year. On board were 234 passengers and 8 dedicated crew members, each with their own hopes and plans for the day ahead. For many, it was a long-awaited trip, some traveling for business, others to reunite with family, and a few simply seeking adventure. The Dreamliner lifted off smoothly, engines roaring as it climbed into the morning sky. But just moments after takeoff, as the plane reached only 650 feet, something went terribly wrong. Eyewitnesses on the ground described a terrifying scene. The aircraft began to wobble violently, its wings rocking side to side, before it suddenly spiraled out of control. A 17-year-old bystander managed to capture the final, harrowing moments on video, showing the plane's desperate, erratic descent, ending in a massive, fiery explosion in the densely populated Meghaninagar neighborhood. The impact was catastrophic. Homes were obliterated, lives were shattered, and out of the 242 people on board, only one miraculously survived the inferno. The devastation didn't end there. Nearly 30 people on the ground lost their lives, caught in the chaos and destruction, bringing the total death toll to a staggering 260. The crash left a deep scar on the city and the entire nation, plunging families and communities into mourning and raising urgent, haunting questions about what could have caused such a disaster. In a matter of seconds, the dream of a safe journey to London was transformed into a nightmare that would haunt survivors and witnesses for years to come. The sheer scale of the tragedy demanded immediate answers. Authorities, aviation experts, and the world's media converged on Ahmedabad, desperate to understand what had gone so horribly wrong. For the grieving families and a shocked nation, the need for truth and accountability was both immediate and overwhelming. The pain of loss was matched only by the urgency for answers. As investigators began their painstaking work amid the wreckage and heartbreak, the world waited for the story behind Air India AI-171's final tragic flight to be revealed. Chaos erupted in Meghaninagar as the crash site became a scene of fire and destruction. First responders braved flames and debris, searching desperately for survivors. Local residents, despite their own shock, joined the rescue, guiding teams through narrow lanes and offering aid. The mission quickly shifted from rescue to recovery, as the violence of the crash made identification agonizingly slow. Forensic teams worked tirelessly, using DNA and personal effects to identify victims. Each identification brought closure, but also heartbreak, to waiting families. The recovery was not just about clearing wreckage, it was about honoring lives lost and helping a community begin to heal. The tragedy united strangers in courage and compassion, even as it left lasting scars. Amid the devastation, a single miracle emerged. A lone survivor was found in the wreckage. Rushed to the hospital in critical condition, this person became the only living witness to the disaster. Their identity was kept private, but their survival offered a fragile hope to a grieving nation. Medical teams fought to save them, while investigators hoped for insights into the final moments on board. The survivor's journey was both physical and emotional, marked by trauma and resilience. Their story became a symbol of hope, even as the nation mourned the immense loss. In tragedy, the human spirit's will to endure shone through. The search for the black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, was urgent. In the aftermath of the crash, every minute counted. Investigators combed through twisted metal and scattered debris, knowing that these small, bright orange devices held the key to understanding what had happened in the final moments of Flight AI-171. The voice recorder was found on a rooftop the next day, battered but intact. The data recorder surfaced 3 days later, buried deep within the wreckage. Each discovery brought a wave of hope as the world watched and waited for any clue that could explain the tragedy. Delays in extracting data raised concerns among officials and families alike, but the black boxes were crucial to understanding the crash. Technicians worked around the clock, carefully handling the recorders to avoid damaging the precious information inside. Early analysis pointed to a critical engine issue. Evidence showed the plane lost power and height at just 650 feet. The sudden loss of thrust left the pilots with only seconds to react, and the aircraft's rapid descent was captured in chilling detail by the recorders. Investigators pored over maintenance records and explored every possibility, from mechanical failure to sabotage. They interviewed crew members, reviewed security footage, and analyzed every aspect of the aircraft's history, determined to leave no stone unturned. The cockpit voice recorder revealed the pilots' final moments, their urgent conversations, alarms blaring, and desperate attempts to regain control. Meanwhile, the data recorder mapped the plane's systems second by second, providing a digital trail of the aircraft's final flight. Together, these two devices formed the backbone of the investigation, allowing experts to reconstruct the sequence of events with remarkable precision and clarity. The truth behind AI-171's fate was locked inside these resilient devices, designed to survive the most extreme conditions and protect the story they carried. As the investigation unfolded, the world waited for answers, hoping that the black boxes would finally reveal the mystery behind the disaster. The Ahmedabad crash put Air India's safety record under intense scrutiny. Just months earlier, a Boeing 777 experienced a dangerous stall warning after takeoff from Delhi, a close call that raised alarms. Such incidents, even when non-fatal, signal deeper issues, gaps in training, maintenance, or oversight. The pattern of smaller incidents leading up to a major disaster forced the public and regulators to ask tough questions. Was this crash an isolated event, or a symptom of systemic problems within Air India? The investigation expanded to examine the airline's safety culture and operational practices. The findings would have consequences for millions of passengers. The Ahmedabad tragedy joins a somber list of India's major air disasters. The 2010 Mangalore crash and the 1996 Charki-Dadri mid-air collision both exposed critical flaws in training, technology, and oversight. Each disaster led to reforms, like mandatory collision avoidance systems, but recurring accidents suggest lessons are often forgotten. The ghosts of past crashes loom over every new investigation, demanding vigilance and accountability. Patterns of human error, regulatory gaps, and technical failures persist. The challenge is not just to react, but to prevent. For the victims' families and the nation, understanding these patterns is essential to breaking the cycle. The past must guide the path to safer skies. The crash of AI-171 put India's entire aviation safety system under the spotlight. Public trust was shaken, with calls for accountability and transparency flooding social media. Experts criticized delays in the investigation and questioned the rigor of pilot training and maintenance standards. The government insisted on compliance with international norms, but the credibility crisis was real. The tragedy became a test for India's aviation culture, demanding a top-to-bottom review. The world watched to see if this disaster would spark real reform or fade into history. The future of millions of travelers depended on the answer. From the ashes of Meghaninagar, urgent lessons emerged. Safety in aviation is a continuous journey. Complacency is fatal. The investigation into AI-171 must be transparent and independent, with findings made public. A comprehensive audit of India's aviation ecosystem is essential, from regulatory oversight to pilot training and maintenance. Weaknesses must be addressed with real action, not just words. Investment in people, technology, and emergency response is critical. The legacy of AI-171 depends on the changes it inspires. This tragedy can be a turning point for Indian aviation, if we choose to learn and act. By demanding higher standards, we honor those lost and work towards safer skies. The sky must remain a place of dreams, not fear.